Alright guys, 2 seconds and I'll be right back. I just wanted to get my chat up so that I could see if you guys make any comments. Be back 1 second. Hey everybody, sorry for the delay, had to get some food. So, real quick, I just want to say what's up. I'm Mox from the Oculus Medium Artist. My name's Nate, and I just wanted to share real quick some of the cool stuff you guys can do with Oculus beyond maybe just the artwork stuff. So, some 3D prints. If you've seen me on the forums, you've probably already seen this stuff, but pretty cool. Also wanted to show you just so goofy you can get, you know, that small. I don't know if that's even going to show up, but it's crazy. Love this 3D printing stuff. So, want to see more of this from me, just stay tuned. Alright, so let's get on with the segment 3. I spent the last 2 days kind of going through some things just to try to get more familiar with Substance Painter. I was having some issues like losing my textures, and watching a few videos of other people doing it. It's a super powerful tool, especially with the masking, and it wasn't working the way I expected. So went out and did a lot of research, spent most of last night trying to figure out exactly how the workflow should work, and I think I have it, so hopefully it'll go smoother tonight. If you guys aren't opposed, I was going to do a real quick pose in Medium, as well as talk about a few things on the export. I might have already covered those, but it should only take a few minutes. And if it's taking too long, I've already got some pre-set up files exported. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the headset on and just talk real quick about some changes from the first 2 segments that I've found now that I've done a little more research. So let me get the Medium stream going here. There we go. And I got rid of some of the side images, so hopefully you guys will be able to see everything tonight. I know some of that got cut off on the first 2. I apologize. Still kind of learning OBS. The software I'm using to stream is called OBS, Open Broadcast Software. Highly recommend it for doing like screen recordings, even like your just your captures out of Medium. They look much better. You can get much higher resolution from them. Just checking one thing on the stream. Alright, that looks right. I don't know why it's showing my desktop icons there, but hopefully you guys can see it fine. That's weird. Let me try closing out. And while I'm in Medium, I won't be able to see the chat, but I've got that up on my secondary screen for when we get to the Blender portion. And real quick, if you've not been on one of my streams before, my mom recently, unfortunately, got diagnosed for the second time with ovarian cancer. I started a GoFundMe for her, so if you guys can share her link or donate, I really appreciate it. We're just trying to navigate her through the rest of this. She's got 3 appointments left. She's doing really well. Her count for that has gone down by half, and our next appointment is on Tuesday. So, wish us luck. All right, let's get started. I'm going to swap my mic over to my headset. You guys hear me? Yeah, it looks. Alrighty, let's load up Deadpool. So I think in the first or second stream, I said to export as an FBX with textures. What I'm finding is the Vertex colors seems to be an easier option. So I'm going to show that here in a second. All right, so notice Deadpool came up without his gear. This is another setup technique I'm trying to get in the habit of doing. And I also, since the last stream, went through and actually named all my layers. Again, I recommend that. It really helps when you pull your model out of medium. Looks like I missed a few, actually, but I tried to get most of them. All right, so you notice he has no gear, but all I've done here is hidden things, and I'll tell you why. So one of the things I love most about medium, if I hide the holsters, because the guns are children, right, they're hidden as well. So with just a couple quick taps, if I were to export them this way, this is what I would get. So anything hidden in your scene is not going to come out in your export file. So really dig that. Where is the... So if I export him like this is how he'll show up. And then my thought process with doing that is I'm not sure exactly what I want to do with the animation completely. But I thought, it'd be cool to have him draw his his guns. So again, I've not done any of this before. I'm just trying to think logically about how I think animation should work. So hopefully I don't lead you guys down too many wrong paths here. So if I want the guns as a completely separate, let's think of that as an asset, right? Well, show your guns and then do your export and save those to a separate folder. And now you've got those completely as independent objects, I guess, in your Blender scene. And I think that'll be helpful. Obviously, you could do another export with him with all his gear if you wanted him walking down the street with it all on. It might be the wrong approach, but I don't think so, because I tested doing this and I brought the guns into into Substance Painter separately, and it seemed just to work really well doing it that way. All right, so I am going to do a quick pose. I hope you guys don't mind that, but I've been working with this same static T-pose for several days.
And I just think it'd be more fun if I do a quick pose. And you guys can see the posing stuff and why I take the time to set up this whole hierarchy business. So let's do his head. I already got a pose in mind. So, and real quick, I'm going to save this as a separate name. Save early, save often. So let's do Deadpool underscore gun pose. If you're laughing because I have so many saves, I once lost about 12 hours of work. And ironically, since then, I don't think Medium's crashed. They've made huge strides on that, and it rarely crashes on me. But yeah, I need to go back through like a bunch of saves and purge. But it sucks when you lose work. All right, so we're gonna do that. I already have a model of him with his guns. I think I'm gonna leave those on, but I'm thinking we're gonna go for a like sword pose. So like that up over the shoulder. Let's see, it'd be grabbing this one. And notice I set up the swords as you know, like left and right side as well. Let's bring this one down. Excuse me. So you can see how quickly you can kind of just set up a different pose. It's just crazy to me. Where's my chest layer? This is the parent here. And this isn't going to be perfect by any shot, but at least it'll be a little different. And you see if you start in that T pose and you get your muscles all, you know, pretty well dialed in, you'll see in a second, you know, with a few minor touch ups, you know, you can get a pretty, you know, I guess quick proof of concept. And if you like the pose, you go back and you know, put some more time into making it perfect. I learned my lesson the hard way the first time I did Deadpool because I did everything merged. And yeah, and then I was like, oh, I want to try animating him. Oh, wait, he's all one object. So yeah. All right, so for cleanup, I always have a little bit of overlap in between like the knee and everything. Specifically for this repose stuff. So that way, if there's any gaps, it would cover those potentially. But really quickly, you can go through, you know, delete out some of that overlap. Again, I'm not going to spend all night trying to make this perfect, but I'll just show you some of the things I do. So another quick one you can do is the move tool for this cleanup. Always make sure when you first launch that if you're going to use move, turn on active layer only. If you don't, it's going to take all your layers at the same time and change them. So move is just ridiculous. This is my go-to tool, so I can just quickly fix that. You move the kneecap a little bit more, slide that back, hit the kneecap again. And to quick toggle like I'm doing, I'm hitting down on the hat, which brings up the scene graph, and then I'm just doing a quick tap on the layer. Takes a while to get used to, but not too long. All right, and then let's take this one. And we need to move this gun. And this is going to look kind of goofy, I think, but oh well. Where did I lose his kneecap? So if you lose an object, just go back through your scene graph. Oops. There. Why is it called hand? So much for my naming conventions. All right. So I'm just going to quickly try to make this decent, but not spend a ton of time on it. And another cool thing with these parents, right? You can resize. If you ever cannot shrink your model down like I'm doing right now, like, see, I can't go past that point. If you go to your resolution, if you decrease it one step. Now, if it's in a nested thing like this, if any one of those lower objects is too high, it'll stick you. So it might be the child that's preventing that, but once you step it down, I should be able to, look at that, shrink it even further. So just know that that resolution change shouldn't impact your sculpt if it's, not like tons and tons of fine detail. That's a good tip there. That one took me a while to figure out. All right. What we got going on here? So this is his back to scene graph. Let's see. So shoulder left. What happened to the forearm? I have no idea why his forearm is not attached, but I'll just do it manually. All right, shoulder, bicep, forearm. Kind of wanted this behind his back. There we go. Hide that real quick. Can you believe this software? So fast. If you're wondering what rig I'm running, it's a custom, just a PC I built. It's nothing special. It's the i5. Can't remember what series. And then 64 gigs of RAM. And I think I have 64. I'm sure I do. And then the biggest upgrade for mine was the GeForce 1080. If you guys ever have questions about doing an upgrade, just ask in the Oculus Medium group. Dave on there from Oculus Medium helped me out immensely. Gave me a really detailed explanation of, if I upgraded X, I would see this. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask. They can help you out before you do any purchases. All right, that looks kind of goofy, I know, but we're gonna go with it. Except I'm gonna fix his thighs here. All right, and then, oops, I was hoping we would see his other arm more than that. Maybe I should do it this way. That's probably going to look better. Ah. All out of proportion, but that's fine. Again, that's why I also break up the layers the way I do. If you've noticed, like I can quickly correct them just the way it's broken up, having the various parts separate really help with that. All right, let's call that good. That looks pretty awesome to me. And we can in Blender we can just adjust the camera to cut out like his legs or something. That looks super goofy. If you guys aren't familiar with the stamps, I want to show you something real quick on that. So anything you build in Medium can be a stamp. Like all of Deadpool could be a stamp for that matter. So, oh, dude, I don't think I have it in my shoot. Of course, I was doing I did a script recently to help, a PowerShell script to help with, like putting your stamps into, like these, groups. And of course, I pulled all my stamps out. Oh, nope, I got them. Cool. So, yeah, there's a PowerShell script that's on the forum somewhere to kind of take a ton of stamps and it'll put them in a new container like this, so you don't have to do them one at a time. If you guys are interested, just message me and I can send it to you. So if you can see, I in the past sculpted like a fist. So instead of having these hands for this pose, we'll just switch it over. If you on your offhand or your primary hand, sorry, I'm left-handed, so everything's backwards. But if you double press on this color thing here and choose a color, that will affect your stamp as well. And to build a custom stamp, you just highlight something and then just press stamp. It's that easy. All right, so I'll fix the size on that in a second. And now I'm in a dilemma here because it's the wrong way, right? So I'll just do a new layer, kick another fist out, grab it, and hit flip. And now I have his left hand. Almost done. All right, so we got that. And I didn't put it back as a child, so I didn't move with it. I really don't know where those forearms stuff are, but that's fine. All right, let me just tweak this a hair. It looks out of proportion. And this needs to. Here's the back of his arm. There it is. I think. Nope. There's the bicep. Elbow, fist. So I usually just work my way down the chain. That is not that part. There we go. All right, and let's see. I want these to be shown. Of course, that's in fact in the swords. Well, let me show that. So I've already got the sword placed. So to quickly fix this issue where the sword is moving. Here's something else I learned last night. I had said you had to go all the way up to the scene, um, up to the sculpt to, unparent something like this. You don't. If you look right there, there's a little tiny, see where it's lighting up yellow? So you just bump it up to there, and now it's not nested anymore. So that was a good find yesterday. All right, let's lift this up. Oop. Do it again. All right. I have no idea where his backpack went. Is it hidden? Oh, there it is. Ah. All right. Gotta speed this up. Okay. So, again, not perfect, but it'll do. Whoops. Pull that in. And that in. And that in. Just chest that there. Well, I'll just leave it. Oops. Move this cheek. All right, good enough. So, except what is that? If you go to the square or circle stamp, they tend to be a lot faster if you're deleting a large amount of clay like I just did. So I'll typically switch to those if I need to delete a large portion of something. All right, so let's get this exported. I apologize, that takes long. All right, so we got him all set up in his new pose. Let me save that real fast. And that is so badly out of proportion. Oh well. And I'm going to quickly touch this up with paint because I want to show something very specific in Substance Painter. It has this feature where you can essentially select color pick a color and base your masks around that. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. So just real fast, I'm going to fix this paint so we can utilize that. And I also want to have his, where's his suit at? Suit. All right, so I'm going to leave the suit like that. I'm just going to, actually, I don't need to do that. So if you guys need to move something, you can also just duplicate, right, that whole layer. Like quickly just cut out what you don't need, right? And I'll duplicate it again. Come on. What is up with my selection tonight? Duplicate, flip. So if you need that left and right side, duplicate, flip, and erase is always an option. So I'll just put that ring back on that arm. That ring back on this one. Oops. All right. Cool. That'll be really awesome for showing you that feature. Because we'll have 3 colors we can work with. All right. Perfect. So on your export, in the first video, I think I told you to do the textures option. Instead, we're going to do vertex colors in FBX format. I'm just finding that is so much easier. It literally took me, I think, about an hour to do the whole process for really the second time I attempted it. Again, on the export, just before you do it, where's that light? Before you do it, check your export transform and just make sure that it is flush with the bottom of your model. So his foot is slightly down here, so I'm gonna, of course it's gonna do that to me. Just gonna lift it a little bit, and it's not gonna be perfect, but you'll want him as centered as possible, because that will end up being your like your center, what do they call that, like the rotation point. So try to get that as close as you can to like dead center of him. And in Blender, that's where the object is going to like be imported to. So I'm just gonna use there to get that down. And then as far as the scale goes, you can make this bigger or smaller. I tend to just do it about the height of the model. And, you can always adjust scale in the other apps. All right, so I'm going to save it one more time, and then we're going to do the export here. And if you guys run out of time, all this stuff will be on my YouTube channel, so you can watch it whenever you can. And sorry for deviating a little bit, but hopefully that was cool for you guys that are maybe new to it. If you have stuff jump in size like that as well, that decrease res is doing that to you as well. So just bump it once. All right, so let's do the export. File, export. It always defaults to OBJ. We want FBX. And notice when I click FBX, it leaves OBJ checked. So if you don't want both, make sure you uncheck that. So we're going to do one export at 100% because we want a high-res model. And this is specific to Substance Painter. We want a high-res model, and then we're going to do a low-res model at 10%. So I'm going to do this one. And I set up a project folder. I'd recommend this too, where if you're going to break out your assets, you can organize them and then have a separate textures directory. So you can save those there. So I'm just going to choose Deadpool. And I want the vertex high, but I want both versions of these. So I'm going to call this one stance or something so I can tell them apart. And if you're going to buy Substance Painter, always do this _high at the end. That's pretty key to what I'm going to show you. Hopefully this won't take too long. Once this one finishes, I'll start the 10% version, and then I'll get on my computer and we can get started. I won't wait for it. All right, so we've got our 100% high-res version. Now I'm just going to do File, Export Again, bump it down to 10. And you guys are going to have to play around with your own use cases to figure out what you want your vertex count to be. All right, so we've got 10% vertex colors. I wanted about 200K. And just double check again. And now I'm going to do export. Find my one I named properly. And then just click there. Oops. And so Substance Painter, you want one called high, your high res, and you want one low as your low res. The reason we're doing that, that's going to speed up things in Substance Painter, and it helps with one of the steps I'll show you. All right. I guess I can talk. Yeah, sorry for the deviation using the or doing the stance name, but I just thought that would be fun. All right, so that's exporting in the background. So let's switch over. One second. Try to set this all up ahead of time. All right, you can see my desktop. All right, let's fire up. Oh, let me show you the project folder thing. So typically just set up a project folder, and then in each one of these you can stash. Um, like I'll need this because I'll have separate textures for the guns versus what we're gonna do now. So let's see. Stance. I love this in Windows 10. They added this little thing where you can see 3D models. Let's fire up Blender. And when you fire up Blender for the first time, it'll always come with a screen. And by default, it'll be like a square here. I tried to do a little pre-work ahead of time, so that's why mine looks this way. So don't be surprised if yours looks different. And let's see, I need that low poly version to finish. Come on. As soon as that file pops in, we'll get going. Hope you guys are having a good weekend. I wish I could see the chat when I'm in VR, but I can't. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I do IT for a living, so having these machines is kind of a must. So yeah, I could definitely see that for sure. Mine does okay. I wish I had a little better rig, but it gets it done. Well, I think I've seen that. Yeah, that quill animation that was totally cool. Yeah, and just messing around with the animation, and I remember seeing like my first cartoons, like when I was like 10 or something, and ever since then I was like, man, I want to do some animations. And I can't draw, so this has been so cool to meet some folks that have helped me kind of get started on this stuff.
Hey, Richard, just say thank you again. You know what I'm talking about. Seriously, man, really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Let me crank it up here. Oh, you know what? I didn't switch it back to the webcam. Thanks, dude. How's that? Better? Thank you. Come on. Well, while we're waiting, that's funny. So while we're waiting, my wife got me this. Gosh, I don't know how to get this thing to focus right, but my wife got me this brand new Wacom pencil. Where's the other one? Here's my old, like barely holding together one. But man, this thing's nice. You can see the difference in the diameter. This one's so much better. I'll post a link to that in the comments when I'm done. Is it super cold where you're at, Richard? It's like freezing here. Yeah, I've had this for like forever. Thing's ginormous. I've had this seriously like 10, 12 years. It's Intuos 4. I thought I was gonna get into drawing and stuff, and I don't know. I can draw, but I don't know. I'm such a avid, like, I love comic book stuff, and I look at what everybody else can do, and I'm like, I suck. So it literally been collecting dust for a long time, but I'm actually using it again. Hey Nix, thanks for joining. Oh, jeez. Yeah, we're not that cold, man. I guess this is a good time of year to want to be indoors working on a computer. All right, so we finally have our export done, but that's not the one we want. We want the cool stance one we just did. Sweet. All right, let me shuffle a couple of things just so I don't get mixed up with these files. This is just the body version. Why is my keyboard not working? There we go. All right, so we've got that, and then just to show you what I was talking about, where you hide the things you don't want to export, check that result out. It's so cool. So I've got my swords in high and low, as well as the guns and holsters here. So I'll be able to use those separately for different renders. All right, enough about that. Let's get on with Blender. I'll move these out as well. Just get them out of my road. Okay, so I set up a basic scene in render or in Blender, not render. And if you do something like this, you want to have it start a certain way that's not the factory. You do save startup file after you've made some changes, and then it will launch that way each time. Oh yeah, the Cintiq or whatever, man, that thing's amazing, but yeah, it's expensive. All right, so I have a basic scene here in Blender. I'm not going to go over a lot of the like movement controls and stuff. There's plenty of other tutorials out there online. I have a model already imported here, so I'm going to go ahead and just delete that so you guys can see the whole process. So once you've exported out a medium, we want to import the FBX that we did, and we're going to choose this low poly version. I'm going to go ahead and say import FBX. All right. And remember how I showed you guys the export transform? So if you look at, because I took the time to do that, he came in, he wasn't huge. Like if you don't make any adjustments to that, you're going to be like, where's my model at in Blender? This drove me insane. Your model will be way out here in space because it's huge. So if you can't see your model when you first have imported it, just hit scale and then just move your mouse and just keep moving it, and it will eventually end up in the center where mine just came in. But do yourself a favor, just tweak that export transform in medium before you export it. So, and I had this scene all set up around that, that center point in Blender, and I knew if I made that adjustment, look, he's literally almost set up how I wanted it. If you hit numpad 0, that moves into your camera, and look at that. That's like almost exactly what I wanted. So if I want to make a quick adjustment here, I have the camera selected, and I'm just going to, whoops, I'm going to mess up. If I just click with my mouse button, I can kind of adjust that camera view. So I'll tweak that up just a little bit. And then if you hold down middle mouse button and move your mouse, it'll kick you back out. So now I'm going to drag the camera down. And then I'm going to hit R twice, which is rotate. And I'm just going to tweak the camera up a little bit. And now it's too high, but I like the angle. So we'll do something like that, I think. All right. Back that up a bit. Check it again. A little bit more. All right. And then I need to move this. So you're probably wondering why I have 3 giant squares in my scene. What I've done with those is, instead of using the standard lights, I kind of like this arrangement better for just doing a single render. So I've set those up to be lights by adding some nodes to it. That's something I mentioned with Blender and what we're about to do. So you'll need to be on the cycles renderer. Make sure you choose that. By default, it's going to be on Blender render. So hit that drop down and choose cycles render. And when you enable cycles, one of the key things you'll need to have turned on is this use nodes. So you just go up and click on any object and make sure you hit use nodes. And if you look here, everything that was like a layer in medium came in with that same name. You see every single layer came in with the same name I had set up in medium. So I could still make adjustments if I needed to, just by using scale and different things. So I guess know that kind of anything you've done, in medium, you can make minor tweaks in Blender as well, if it's not just right. Okay, and then to clean up this mess, I am going to quickly just merge all these in Blender. If you try to do that in medium, it might work for you, but many times I've had it cut off my sculpt. If you're merging like high resolution layers with lower res and you have a big scene going on, it can just get cut off. So I'm just doing this in Blender instead. It's just easier for me. but I don't want to deal with all of these objects, so I'm going to join those. So I just selected them all, going to hit join, there we go. And then I'm going to rename this to Deadpool. Yeah, totally, man. I was seriously pulling my hair out, not that I have any, for like the last 2 days, because I'm like, it can't be this hard. I was spending hours and hours and hours trying to get the two to work together. And then once I figured it out, I'm like, wow, it was such a tremendous waste of time because it's very simple. All right, so we merged everything down to Deadpool, and let's see. If I go over to this little icon here, hopefully you guys can see all this. And I scroll down. Remember, we chose Vertex colors on our export. Well, when I just merged everything, those Vertex colors, that all kind of merges together, and it still knows where all the colors should be. But it won't show up if you switch to like texture mode or render mode. He looks blah. Where's our color at? So to fix that, we need to set up a new material here. So with him highlighted, you click on new material, and if this use nodes is unchecked, remember, go up, switch it from blender render to cycles, then check the use nodes. And it will come up by default with these two objects here. And then if you don't see, I should mention that it won't show you that at all. You won't see that because it'll be on timeline. You'll need to go down here and click on this little icon and go to node editor. Sorry, I already had mine set up that way. I forgot it's not the default. So I've set up a material. You can call this whatever you want. So Deadpool skin. And I'm going to change a few things here. So we're going to delete the two it gives you by default. And we're going to go over to node, or I'm sorry, to add. And we're going to add a shader. And we're going to choose principled BSDF. I don't know why we do that. I had other people tell me to do that, so sorry I can't give you the reasons on this. And then for another thing we need is an output and a material output. Let me do that again. So add, output, material output. And then you just want to click on this little out. Think of this as like in and out. So we want this BSDF to end up on the surface of our object. What else? Oh, we need to add a attribute. If I can remember how to do that. Is it here? No. Sorry guys. Node, add. Do I just start typing? No. Why am I having I'm having a momentary lapse of memory here. Dang it. I'm drawing a complete blank. I know it's on this menu. Node. Thank you. Here, let me pop up Facebook real quick. Sorry about that. I've got it on my saved here. Actually, I made a comment on it last night too. Where's my Blender question? Blender. Question on Blender. Here we go. And I'll post a link to this discussion as well. It's got a lot of good information. That's not the one. Input attribute. Oop. Oh, there it is. Jeez. All right, so we're going to add an input attribute. Okay? And then in the name, in this little name field here, we're going to type what we see over here, Vertex colors. Sorry, I gotta change them. And then we just take this color out on this attribute and we put it to base color on the input of the principled BSDF. Thanks, Richard, for giving me that tip there too. All right, and now if I go up to, I think it's texture, no, material. Look at that. So I literally spent like 6 hours trying to do that with the texture option. And what did that take? About 5 seconds. So we already have our exported model out of medium with all our color data from the paint job. And I've already set up lights here. So let me show you something on the render tab that you'll want to change. By default, this will be on CPU. So if you're running a Windows machine, make sure you change that to GPU compute. Otherwise, it's going to use your CPU and it's going to be really slow. You'll also want to check under File, User Preferences, and then on System. And you go down here to Cycles Compute and change it to CUDA and choose your GeForce. Nice. I didn't know that. So, Shift Z, you said? That doesn't seem to work on my end. I'll just hit F12. So, at least on my setup, the F12 does it. Oh, okay. That makes sense. So I cheated ahead of time. I kind of set my light sources up because I wanted this to kind of go smoothly for us. But, dude, come on. I never thought I could do stuff like this, so I hope that looks cool. I think it does. So, pretty awesome. We got the shades of color that we had. You know, it looks pretty close to medium, and you know, we can stay here and mess around for hours on these sliders, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah. All right. So that's step one, right? To get us to Blender. But we could put a really cool paint job on this with Substance. So do you guys mind if I take like 3 minutes? I guess stick around if you want to. I'm gonna take 3 minutes. When I come back, we're gonna export this out to Substance Painter. And if you haven't seen Substance Painter, you should stick around. That's awesome. All right, I'll be right back, guys. Just gonna top off my beverage and I'll be right here. Alrighty. Thanks for the break. Alright, let's get jamming. Sweet. I had some, chicken wings tonight. Nice and healthy. So I saw your question while I was away, Richard. Yeah, Substance Painter is going to allow us to enhance the paint job essentially and add in details that I'm not going to say you couldn't achieve in medium. You probably could do some surface textures by using, say, a brush. Like there's some rock brushes or stamps, and if you use those with like a remove, you could probably create some surface texture. I haven't messed around with that too much, and the reason I picked up Substance Painter, one of the guys on the Oculus Medium group recommended it, and it was on a great sale on Black Friday, so I just picked it up. So let's move on to that. All right, so what did we do so far? We have Deadpool. Let me click on him. We added in that attribute by doing add input attribute. All we had to do was type Vertex colors in the name, which ties it to the mesh. But we're missing something before we go to Substance, which is a UV map. I probably should have started that before I left. But to get a UV map established for the model, we need to go into edit mode. So we're on object mode right now. We need to highlight Deadpool and then switch to edit mode. Oh, thanks for the shortcuts, by the way. All right, so I'm in edit mode now, which essentially highlights all the vertices, and I switched my color scheme. Here, let me change it back really fast so we can see that a little better. Themes. Ugh. Where's the default one? Oh, these are all horrible. There we go. Well, anyway, it's in the vertices mode. So we could select each individual one and make tweaks to those or delete them or whatever. Sorry, I shouldn't have messed with this. Which one was I on? Yeah, there we go. All right. So we're in edit mode, and we're going to next click on mesh and then UVWrap, and we want to do smart UV project. And then when this prompt comes up, just say okay. And this could take a second. And I really should have thought of doing this before we went on break. So, sorry guys. Does anybody know how to show who is on watching? I can see the chat, but I've yet to figure out how to see like who's connected on YouTube. All right. Well, you've trained me on a bunch of other things tonight already, which I fully appreciate. I still can't believe over this past year I've pretty much I taught myself PowerShell. Never done programming. Taught myself PowerShell. Um, got a 3D printer and started printing. Uh, Man, that was a nightmare for me. I'm not real mechanically inclined. Let's put it that way. Um, and then I've had Medium. I had Medium for or the headset for probably I don't know 3-4 months. I got in a motorcycle accident and kind of I didn't come in my computer room for like a year. It was kind of depressing, but I don't know, kind of snapped out of it. And I was messing around with Medium one night, and my wife's like, "Do you think like could you print that stuff?" And I was like, "Probably." And she doesn't like to wear the headset, but she kind of wanted to see my stuff, and came a couple months went by, and she's like, you should just buy a 3D printer. So thanks to her, I got started down that path and learned how to 3D print, and now she gets to see what I make, which is really cool. And but where I was going with all that is it boggles my mind still that we can learn all this stuff and share with other people. You know, I didn't go to college and stuff, and it's just cool that you can educate yourself. There's so much information out there now. I remember going to the library and you go, look through the drawers with the tags to find stuff. Yeah, aging myself. Index cards, yep. Mm. Man, I was going through. I work at a hospital. I was going through the medical records area, and they still have a microfiche. I was just chuckling. Oh, thank you very much, sir. So, are you? Yeah, I feel like I'm the one getting schooled here. Just kidding, though. I really appreciate it. Same here. I also learned 3D printing and a bunch of 3D programs. That's awesome. Yeah, for the VR stuff, yeah, aging myself again. So I remember going with my cousin to Lawnmower Man, and I'm sure I had already thought about like self integration with PCs and stuff before that, or you know, just alternate reality or whatever. And I walked out of Lawnmower Man like, oh my god, I was a believer. Everybody thought I was crazy, but here we go. I didn't think we'd see it in my lifetime, so it's it's as awesome as I thought it could be. I've never worked. So I got started with Medium right in VR. So I'd never really worked with this kind of stuff, the 3D stuff on a PC with a mouse and keyboard. And I'm still going to mess around with this for sure. But it's funny as I'm doing it, I'm always kind of in the back of my head wishing I was just in Medium sculpting because it's just so much easier and it's just immersive and fun. I think some other artists have talked about it because when you put on the headset, it kind of takes you out of your space. so you're not, you don't have all the distractions because you're in the headset. And I've experienced that several times in my life. Master diver, scuba diver, and then I did motorcycling for many years. And like when you're on a motorcycle and you put on a helmet, right? It's just you, just the road noise, right? You just kind of zone out. Same with scuba, you can't hear anything, and you've got that, kind of cup around your vision. And medium's been the one other thing in my life that's been that way, and it's just so, I have a pretty high stress job and stuff, and for me, it's like that I look forward to it all day just so I can kind of like all my tension and stuff just gone in the first like 2 minutes. I love it. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Yeah, I agree with you on that about standing up. I do a lot of it sitting down. To be honest, I tried to take one art class in high school, and the teacher, to be honest, was kind of a jerk. And he literally came in. I would have thought of it more of like a PE or something. Like he would just come in and he literally for like 3 weeks just sat a bowl of fruit, the same bowl of fruit, and said, "Draw that." Right, draw that, and he went and sat in the corner, and it just totally turned me off from art at that point. And so when I first started with medium, like I have no idea what I'm doing, and it literally took me hours and hours and hours to get something that looked halfway decent. So I started sitting, and my knee bugs me a little bit after my accident. But I would like to, I need to, now that I'm more familiar with the tools and I'm feeling more confident, I do need to like do some sessions where I stand. I think it would be a lot of fun. And I don't know if you've noticed in medium, the scale stuff, where you can scale it up and down. I was sitting there one night and I was like, man, do I have my proportions right? On a model I was working on. I think it was Deadpool. And so I had this thought, and I moved Deadpool and increased his size so his head was about the same size as mine, and I was in the model, and then I had his arm out to the left, and I just brought my controller up, and I was able to gauge like how big his arm was in proportion to my own. And it's crazy to me, like the scale is that spot on. So I would imagine if you're sculpting standing up and you increase the model to your height, like that would be pretty spot on to reality, right? If you were to export it that way, it's just cool. There is one thing I'm hoping they add in the future. I don't know that they will. Um, I think they're very geared towards art itself. Um, but I'm hoping they add maybe some measurement features in the future, just a basic measurement deal. I did find a workaround though. I created a buddy of mine wanted me to create a drone like backpack for his drone so he could put a wireless access point on it and strap it down. And the way I figured out around that is I actually threw it in CAD first, so I could get the ideal or exact measurements. And then if you import into Medium and you do not move or scale the object, don't scale the object. As long as you don't do that, you can make adjustments and then export it back out and it will retain the size. So I made like this backpack thing for his drone, but I like totally customized the like front of it just for looks and made it look like a some type of spaceship out of like Star Wars or something. He was just laughing. But you can do precise stuff. It fit like a glove, so pretty cool. Sorry this is taking so long. So, Nix, are you from the Oculus Medium group, or how'd you find it? The stream. Oh, nice, nice. I bet everyone hates me there for spamming so much. Nice, yeah. Uh, a buddy of mine out in Illinois, he runs TH3 Studio. Um, he sells a lot of good printer upgrades. Or if you don't have a printer, he's coming out with a printer shortly, and I definitely recommend looking at his. It's kind of very similar to the CR10S I have. But yeah, he was giving me shit the other day. He said, "Is that all you do is print Deadpool?" I don't know if you guys saw the video. I have like 56 of these things or something like that. I was so bad at printing when I started. You probably can't see these very well, but just horrible quality. And this is how bad I was at sculpting. Like I kept just printing them out so that I could kind of like figure out what I was doing. Yeah. No, not 56, but a ridiculous amount. Probably like 20. They're all small though. But I love it, man. You once you have one, like you finish the sculpting medium, and 5 minutes later you're printing it out. It's crazy. There is one thing to know about that though. If you ever go down that route, gosh, it's so you guys probably can't even see this, but if you don't merge before you print, if you have any like layered gaps like between the layers, it'll really screw up your prints. So if you, I don't know if you can see this from here, but his entire back has these gigantic holes and stuff in it where the layers overlapped. So something to know. Oh, that sucks. The print materials are going to be about 20 bucks. 20 bucks a spool. Huh. Interesting. Yeah. I don't know. I have all kinds of filament. But there's that standard one on Amazon, the Hatchbox. It's like 20 bucks a spool, and it prints fine for me. Um, I have some stuff that's twice that price, but they're a place up in Washington. I actually just went up there. So cool. My wife, for my birthday, she got me like a ticket to go to Protopasta, and we actually made filament. They let us like mix it up and stuff. It was a lot of fun. Um, so I support those guys. They're up in Washington, and I like supporting U.S. companies when I can. Yeah, dude, it was so sweet. There was a company that came out from the East Coast, FDL, is that right? I'm just gonna see if I can. I'm just trying to keep us busy while this finishes. FDL, was that it? You know what? It's on my phone. But they make these guns, Nerf guns. Oh my God, you never seen? Yeah, projectfdl.com. You've never seen a bunch of 40-year-old guys laughing so hard. Project FDL. So the guy essentially put a drone motor in a Nerf gun, and it's all 3D printed. You guys probably can't see my other screen. but you can look it up. It's just projectfdl.com, and they make custom ones. So there's one up on the screen right now. This Deadpool. It's so sweet. They shoot a ridiculous amount of rounds every second. And he put I think it's a Arduino based little OS on it, so you can like adjust like the fire rates and everything. Yeah, Blender's not responding. I honestly don't know why this is taking so long. It surely didn't before. I'm kind of bummed that it's doing this to us. I'm afraid to cancel it though. If it is still doing something. Hmm. Should I give it a second or should we just move on? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I'm not in a rush either. It's probably because I didn't properly clean the model up first. Hmm. Let's see how much RAM I have left. Maybe we'll just pull up a separate one. I got plenty. So while this is doing its thing, I'll just pull up Blender again, and we'll pull in one of the other files. And actually, we can just work on this one. So this is just the one I posted when I was talking about doing this stream again. Except it doesn't have. Why doesn't it have the textures? Oh, because this is the one without. I think I still have the file though. Honestly, I think it's just the i5. Gosh, 770 maybe. Oop. Uh-oh, now I've done it. What is this screen? Oh. That's weird. All right, let's see. So we're back in 3D view. Is this the one? Yeah. All right. So we can just work off this file and hope the other one finishes. So this is the one I posted the other night. And so it has the UVWrap finished. Here, let me move this other Blender screen, or not. There. All right, and you guys can see that it looks like. Yes? Okay. All right, so what I want to make sure you see is once you do the UV map, that smart UV wrap project that we did, you'll see it show up here as UV map. So once you've got that done, you're good to go. If you want to go to Substance Painter, so what we're going to do then is File, and we're going to export. And actually, before I do that, no, actually this will be good. So we're going to do File, Export, FBX, and on this little export menu on the left, you're going to want to check all of these, like camera and all this other stuff. You just want the mesh. And all also check selected objects. If you have more than one object, like I had Deadpool and those other objects, I just want him. So click on him before you do export and then choose selected objects. And I believe that's all we need to do. And we'll give it a name. So I am going to put this in my project folder that I have. And we're going to call this Deadpool with UV. Alright, we'll export that. I'll go to my projects folder, and it's already done. This was a low poly version, so it's not going to look as good as it could. Just be aware of that. And that's still not responding. Okay, so once you've exported out of Blender, you can actually even leave this open. This is even a cooler part of Substance Painter. So now I'm going to go launch Substance Painter. And what I meant by it's cool is once you get this all set up right and you have your scene in Blender and you've done your export of your object to Substance Painter, once you've got that kind of workflow established and we've reassigned the textures from Substance Painter back to our model in Blender, you can have them both up and make quick changes to the textures and then immediately update Blender again for another render. It's just awesome. So I'm going to do a file and then new. Yes, everything in Blender is the low poly. So it works fast. If you're going to animate, on a previous stream I did, I showed Mixamo. So if you're going to use like Mixamo or do an animation, you're going to want that low poly version. What Substance Painter is going to bring to the table is we can apply the high poly version as kind of like an overlay, if you will, that's going to bring a boatload of detail to that low poly when you're painting it. So that's why I had you do both the low and high versions. So I'm going to do File New in Substance Painter. I need to select my FBX file. So I'm going to go find that and select it and hit open. And then say OK. And so here's Substance Painter. And I've got to remember how to do the controls here. And one of the first steps you're going to want to do, and I hope I've done this right, the very first step you're going to want to do is over here on the right, this texture settings, you're going to want to bake your mesh maps. And this should work for me. There's one step I can't do because I don't have two versions of this model, but if I had my high definition map or that high mesh that we named _high, you would click on this icon here and you would choose that high polygon version. I can't do that in this case because they're not the exact same model. But this is where you would do that, and then you just say bake your mesh. Oh, and also make sure you choose on this match option, you want to choose by name, and then this is where that high and low naming convention, that's where all the magic happens. So, and then hit bake your materials. And you'll watch the like lower poly mesh, like all the shadows and highlights and stuff like really pop after you do that. And what this does is it builds normal maps, color maps, ambient occlusion maps for your model. And I'll show you why this program is so powerful because of this. So we're going to go out of here. Oh, and on your size, sorry, I skipped a step. When you're doing your bake, your mesh maps, change this output size to 4096. I'm going to do that one more time because I forgot to do that. So the other thing that this brings to the table um, is everything we're seeing on the screen is like, I'm trying to think how to say it. It's like it's showing us the lighting and stuff in real time, right? It should be a fairly good representation of what you're going to be able to get out of whatever other app you're going to send this to. And this isn't even in the rendering screen. I'll show you that after we lay down some paint. But I mean, even this is just phenomenally cool. I'm going to move my mouse and keyboard around here so I can get out my Wacom. Cool. And you don't have to use Wacom with this. I'll use the mouse for some portion of it. And it actually, I think you can do it all with a mouse fairly easily. My machine's like, you're killing me. I'm thinking that blender isn't coming back, but we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't make this slow down too much. Yeah, OBS is running too. Yep. I hadn't built a PC in probably about 8 years, and I told my wife, I was like, I really want a new PC, so I saved up for a bit, and so I finally got a new rig, which means she gets a new rig because I always give her my old one. Almost done. So if you guys have ever used Photoshop, nice, nice, nice. I am so here's the one thing I'm kicking myself for. So when I was buying this PC, I was like, man. Actually, I told you guys I have 64 gigs of RAM. I don't. I have 32. And I told my wife, I was like, man, I really want to go for the 64 gigs. And she has a computer science degree as well. And she's like, well, your games aren't even going to use that much. And I was like, yeah, you're right, right? Because games have a limit on the memory they can use. And then sure enough, what do I start doing a couple months later, right? I start messing with all this, and it's like, oh, I could really use that RAM now. And I went out and looked. The RAM has not come down in price at all. And of course, I bought 4 sticks. So if I want to upgrade, I have to basically buy it all over again. Oh, by the way, Richard, I don't know what card you have. I have two 970s. If you're interested in one. Medium cannot use what is it? The SLI mode. Oh, okay, you're good to go then. Yeah, I'm gonna have a hard time getting rid of those. Okay, all done. So we've baked our mesh maps. Nice. Oh, 12 gig RAM card. That's sweet. All right, so we baked our mesh maps, and then if you're familiar with Photoshop, you have this layer menu that's very similar to Photoshop. Um, but we don't want to start right off the bat just throwing some paint down. We could, like color wise. Instead, my recommendation, and based on others that I've watched, we're going to do what's called some normal maps. So we're going to add that texturing that you talked about. So to do this, oh, okay, I see. Um, so to add texture to the model, we have this layer, and we want to do a new fill layer. Bear with me on this. I gotta see if I can get this right the first time. And then we want to do a new black mask, I think. But we can take it a step further. Let's say I want to just add some bump maps or some texture to the red part of his suit, not the black. So I'm going to do it with a color selector. This is where this program just blew my mind once I figured this out. So we hit pick colors. What is that? That's our Vertex colors that came over from medium. If I go over here and I pick red, this thing just automatically took the UV map of our model and created a mask. So what a mask is, the way I think of it is like it covers places you don't want stuff to happen. So you know how on a paint job you might tape off something and then your spray paint won't hit that part. So you can make that color transition, right? So um, you add a mask with color selection. You pick the color. Look at this. You can do color range. So let's say, well, it's a little pinker right here. See, that's a lighter color. So now, if there's any red color values between those two, that just became part of the mask. And it's important to use these layer masks because they allow you to change that on the fly. You're not putting anything permanent on your paint job, if you will. So definitely, if you pick this up, use this approach because you can tweak everything all day, even all the sliders that will change different aspects of it. You can change on the fly, and you see those changes in real time. So, and it's a little quirky to get used to, but you you add one more thing, which is paint, and in order to get certain options, and this took me a long time to figure out, you have to be either on this layer or possibly on this layer to make some of these changes. Yeah, wait till you see how it works. It's crazy. Okay, so now I'm going to do some painting, but because we chose the options we did, notice that it's in white. And our mask, I know it's hard to see, but it is black. So what that means is if we draw on this with white, that is going to show up as a texture if we choose a texture. So we're going to come over here and there's brushes. So a brush is just like Photoshop, and the brush itself is going to have some texture to it. And this is just crazy. You can change like the opacity, so you can make it, apply less, but like you can look at the shape. Like you can change the shape on the fly. I think you can have it randomize it, so it's constantly changing as you're drawing. So I'm just going to tweak a couple settings there. And then if we scroll down, so we only get the brush options here. But if I go back on this part of the mask, notice we have color, metal, rough, normal, and height. And I'm going to recommend this. So I'm going to call this my height layer. So I'm going to rename that if I can find out where that is. Shoot. Oh, you just double click. So we're going to call this one height. And if you break it up this way, it's really easy to troubleshoot, like if you want to take something away later. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to uncheck color, metal, normal, and rough. And we're just going to leave height. And then this slider here for height, if you go to the right, that's going to make stuff stick out. If you go to the left, it's going to make like cuts into your model. Or it's going to look like it's doing that, but really it's all software. It's not doing it to your mesh. So we're going to go back to here. So I have my brush, okay? And let's see if it errors out on me. Oh, I think I did it right the first time. Miracles can happen. All right. So where is my... I'm trying to find my brush settings here. Ah, on this first tab. Change some of these. What's getting me? Is it the spacing? So let me zoom in here so you guys can see. All right. Oh, is that... When I did my filter, I did choose red, right? Why is that not working that way? That's odd. Or maybe it's filtering off the red. Well, anyway, let me go back to here. But okay, what I'm trying to demonstrate, and I've got it probably backwards because I think I meant to have the red being adjusted. But what's happening here is the black only is being adjusted, right? If we could see the colors, this is the black part of his suit. He's red here, and because I did that filter, look at this. It's completely filtered off of areas. Like I can't put any on the forearm there. So look at that. Like in seconds, I can make adjustments to just specific things. And I'm sorry, I'm still trying to get used to the controls on this too. Here we go. So, like as quick as that, it's not impacting his head. So as far as doing details, that instead of having to draw it just perfectly, this filter map can help you a lot. And look at that, we got this whole new texture on Deadpool. And that took me like a second. Now watch, if I go to the back to the height map, so I can adjust the height of this on the fly, right? And I see those in real time. Just totally sweet. There's one other parameter I wanted to show you guys. I think it's on the map. Nope. Still getting used to this. Is it on the mask? Mask selection. Here we go. This tolerance slider. Look at this. Notice how I didn't want this to bleed over into the leg, but it did. That's due to this tolerance setting. Look at that. I can correct that problem just by pulling that slider back. Yeah. Oh, dude. This is night and day easier. So look, I made corrections. Imagine what that would take if I had to draw or correct that with an eraser, and then I'd mess it up, and then I'd have to go back and do it again. That quick, I fixed it. All right, so let's add on another layer. And this time, I'm going to choose to just do metal. All right, and then I'm going to go down and pick... Sorry. I'm going to go down. I'm going to change my material. So again, every one of these materials has its own properties. Like it's already got some baked texturing into it. There's hundreds online that guys have built that you, I think, can just download for free. Don't quote me on that, but I honestly think you can. So I'm going to paint on this layer, but I'm still going to do a mask. So I'm going to do a mask with color selection. I'm going to do my color picker, and This time I'm going to do, that's what I thought I did last time. Let me see this. Is this going to work? So then I'm going to choose my material. There we go. And I get nothing because I didn't go to the paint layer. Make sure you do that. There we go. So now we're just going to throw down some paint. And look at that. Again, if you change some of these parameters, like you can change it to just be a metallic effect on the model. So it's going to make it shine more or not. So you can impact, these are channels, I think they're called. So you can impact those channels completely separate or all together. But I think hands down the coolest thing is this mask part because it makes, if you've done the paint job in medium, which is super fast to do, it doesn't have to be great, but it's going to help you at this phase like immensely. So I'm going to go, I mean, if I just go with my Wacom and do a massive brush, all I got to do is slap it across, right? I guess I should be trying to make it look like Deadpool. So I'm going to change the metallic color to red. I'll do like a deep maroon here. And boom. I mean, good lord. I don't know about you guys, but when I finally figured, I was like, I'm doing something wrong. And then I got this, and I was just like, or figured this part out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is sweet. I'm going to go back to my color selection, adjust my tolerance. I'm going to pull it up a little bit, boom. Good to go. Add another layer. Let's do that mask again. I'm going to leave it on color selection. I'm going to hit the black and go back to here. Just choose, I want more of a matte finish for his mask. So I'll choose a more matte looking material. And I'm going to go to my brush and I'm going to choose just a flat brush. Boom. So seriously, like speechless about this application. Oh yeah, very good point. So the video that clued me in on this was actually by a professor or something at some college that teaches 3D art, right? That's all he had. He had like this bulldog. It was like a logo for somebody, and he put hot pink on the head, and then he put yellow on the nose, and he put just all it needs is a flat color reference. They just have to be different. So it doesn't have to be a good paint job in medium. It just gives you the foundational color that you can work on or work with. So notice it's like kind of taken away again. It's because I have height map turned on, and this particular material must do a reduction. So it's taken away the lower layer's height, right? As I'm doing this one. So you can endlessly stack effects. I've seen guys, I mean, make stuff that just looks. I mean, I actually had someone on the forums. They thought one of the pictures I put up of Deadpool was actually one of my painted models. I was like, no, it's software. It's crazy realistic. So I'm gonna just try to do a little bit more, and then we'll go see how to get this back in medium. Um, Color mask. This has been a lot of fun. I'm glad you guys joined. It'd be kind of boring when it's been kind of boring on most of my streams when no one joins. Oops. Well, I guess that's good to know. You can change your mask even after you've applied paint. Because I don't know if you guys saw my mistake. I thought I had done a new layer, but now I'm switching around where that paint's being applied. That's so cool. All right, let me add another layer, another mask. All right, and then let's get a super shiny something. And go back to this one and adjust the tolerance a little bit. I won't play around with this too much longer. I'll show you how to get it exported back. Oh, my color's almost the same. That's my problem. There we go. Oh gosh, yeah. So that's the bane of me. I remember a time when we could buy stuff and we just bought it. But yeah, it's a subscription. I bought a full year, but I think I read after the first year I can opt to a flat rate like $40 a month. Or I'm sorry, like $40 a year. I won't get upgrades from that point on, but I don't care. So as soon as that's a possibility for me, yeah, I'm just gonna pay the $40 a year or whatever. I hate this whole subscription model thing. Sorry to go off on a tangent, but I I dropped Photoshop. I I uh, I couldn't handle it, dude. It's absolute nonsense. I Why can't I just go buy one copy and be done with it? You know, I don't know. It pisses me off, as you can tell. But it's like well, I'm trying to remember what version of Photoshop I had. It was like uh, one of the early versions. And I mean, it was rock solid then. It's like I don't need any upgrades for that. It does what I need it to do. So why should I have to pay for it every month, right? And I get they have to pay people too, but I don't know. Sorry for the rant. Look at that. Oh yeah, hands down. Did you see what just happened? Like it only had color. Well, notice. Okay, this is kind of cool to see. It's kind of cool to see though. I can't undo the metal that I put down, right? Because that's a channel. But I can. So if I go to the eraser, I can erase back to no data on that plane. And then I'm going to do this again just so we can see it. So I'm only on color. Yeah. Oh, well, his backpack's supposed to be metal. Throw the metal. Boom. That's so. This program blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind. All right. So it's a crappy paint job. But I want to show you guys the rest of this so you can get out of here if you want to. If you guys want to stick around, I'm just going to be messing around all night. So um, let's see. And I've only showed like putting one color on. I'll show you one last thing and then we'll export it back out. So if I go back to, um, well, I won't go back to a previous layer. I'm just going to add on another layer. I'm going to do a really huge brush. I'm going to go and find a really cool, oh, I should show you particles. This is going to be awesome. So if I go to particles, these are like programmatically, they're algorithms. So if I choose this, let me choose some obnoxious paint color. So I'll do hot pink. Um, these are algorithm based. So if you watch the preview of the brush, and I just messed it up, didn't I? Try it again. Look at this. Is that insane? So now when I hit this, watch this. Are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? And I could sit here and play with this like all day. Like, that is just cool. Um, and I haven't showed this yet. Just like Photoshop, you can adjust layered opacity after the fact. So if you had your brush on too heavy, right? Boom. So cool. It's just ridiculous. Um, all right, I think I've showed you. I mean, there's just so many things I could show you on this. Smart materials are like stacked with many parameters already, and these are literally like drag and drop on it, and boom, right? So, and I think honestly, there's a lot of artists like developing certain looks that you can just go download, right? Again, they have a whole online user community that you get access to. I haven't really checked that out yet, but there's a link to it right here. Oh, and you have Photoshop. This has a direct integration with Photoshop. So I think any of the stuff you're building, like if you're building textures and stuff in Photoshop, you can just pull those in as assets. So I hope you guys thought that was cool. Let's check out the render part of it. So, just like Blender can do visual renders, this can as well. So if you hit this little um, camera icon, you get a render engine, and I would I would describe this as this is like photorealistic, right? Compared to maybe Blender, um, maybe you can achieve that with Blender, but I think Blender can do things maybe this wasn't designed to do, like fog effects and stuff like that. Um, and there is a place to here. So there's a place where you can adjust your samples, right? How long it's going to take to do that. If you go to the environment, this is crazy. Someone told me you can now with your iPhone, if you've got that 3D camera, you can go to anywhere, take 3 pictures, make a 3D photograph. You can load that into this application, and it will represent the lighting in that environment based on the photographs. It's nuts. Yes, we do live in the future. And then if I scroll in really close on this, look at our normal maps. And remember, I don't know how to I'm not an artist. I don't know how to do all this stuff. And I mean, so if you know what you're doing with this thing, it'd be scary. And then there's our metallics on the back. Okay, I think I think you guys probably seen enough on this. I don't know. I was sold, absolutely sold. All right, so let's take it back out to Blender, and then you really be sold. So I'm gonna spin it back around here. It probably doesn't matter. All right, I'm gonna save this just as a SPP file in my project folder, so I can use it again. Substance. All right, all I have to do now is hit File, um, Export Textures, and it's going to come up with a prompt. I can choose multiple options. They have built-in canned export parameters for like Unity, all kinds of stuff. I think some of this, literally, I think you can have like the Unity engine up and push the textures in. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's why they have these things. Integration with Dota, Keyshot, it's crazy. All right, so I'm gonna choose um, my document channels normal AO with alpha. It and all I gotta do is hit export. And now it's going to export these textures out and then prompt me to grab them. So I'm going to get my project folder up here. And this is why I made that textures directory. So I'm going to pull that up in my project. And you don't have to do this. This is just the approach I'm taking so I can stay organized and work on multiple things at once and not lose everything. All right, open the folder, and boom. Here's all our maps for this paint job, right? Single image stuff. I'm going to copy that over to my textures directory. Boom. All right. So now I'm just going to close out a substance. I'm going to go back to Blender. And I got a feeling we're never going to see Deadpool with sword. It's sad. Okay, so how do you pull your substance paint job in? So you keep up this, close that, you get the right folder up here. Too many windows open. All right, so you get your textures directory where you copied all those to, and you keep it handy. And then here, oh, we're actually already on the right screen because we never closed Blender. So we're going to pull in first our base color. And we're going to replace this one here with that base color. And we're just going to drag. All I did was click and drag it from that folder right into the node section. And we're going to swap over to material. And it's all messed up because I'm an idiot. Hold on. Why did it do that to me? Come on. There we go. So I've not quite figured out why some of these materials do that. I probably should read the documentation, but so then on the height map, someone on the Oculus Medium Artist showed me this. So you want to do a vector. I think it was bump. No, wait. Add vector normal map, I think. Yeah. And let me move this up so you guys can see this a little better. All right, so you do a vector normal map, then you do color to color, and then normal to tangent, I think. Maybe not. Maybe it's to the normal channel. All right, and it's a little hard to see because it's dark. I'm going to do it the way I've been doing it because that way wasn't working so well. Vector bump. All right, so then we're going to take this to height and do normal to normal. There we go. Yeah, it is. Thank you. So look at that. There's our bumps from our height map from Substance. And then we're going to bring in metallic if we want. So we'll just link that to the metallic channel. And we're going to do mixed AO. And I think that's supposed to go here. And what else? Roughness. The roughness. And I don't know why he's so dark. That's odd. I was having this issue last night, but for some reason on the very first time I did this, I didn't have that problem. So I got some kinks to work out. Not sure which one of these is. I guess it was that one. So I'm going to leave it that way. I don't know why the metallic is doing that. I obviously have some more to learn. But let's look at it now with that applied. Look at that. Night and day. It's crazy. And then if I'm not happy with this, like I mentioned earlier, all I have to do is go right back to Substance Painter. open my recent project, Deadpool. Grab a layer. Let's do one of these of the color selection, and I'm going to change him to gold or something, you know. I don't know why that must be the height map one. Why aren't I getting color? Okay, go up to this one then. Base color, change that to blue. I don't know. So we make some tweaks. I'm gonna put some on his face so we can see it. I'm just trying to show you this. And then export textures again. Leave it on all the same options. Export. And there might even be a way to make this work better with Blender if you, I don't know, maybe you can have it where you just paste in the new image and it replaces the old. I don't know, maybe that's a project configuration thing on Blender. I haven't looked into that yet. Come on. And you might already know this too. If I had another pose, like a Mixamo animation, like say I had 15 of those of Deadpool, if I pulled them into the same project, I don't have to relink any of these images in the node editor. On the next mesh of him that has an animation applied, all I have to do is choose the material, right? So click on him and just choose the existing material, and bam, he looks just like the other one. So I'm going to drag this in and pull this up. Sorry, guys. Delete and just replace it, and we'll re-render. And don't make a liar out of me. There you go. So, yeah. And so it's got that purple that I just put in on that side. So, I know it doesn't look great, but I think you guys understand, you know, what it does. So, I hope this was helpful to you guys. Was there anything else that I didn't cover? I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. Showed you guys how to do the render piece and get these textures applied. What I'm really, honestly, I was thinking about this too. I'm kind of curious to save this back out and see what it looks like if I pulled it back into medium. I don't know that they can represent it, but I don't know. Um, you know, here's who you should ask. Ask Seren. I think it's Seren, CERYNN on that group. He's the one that put me onto Substance, and he does a lot with effects, and he's actually really good with hair, so he would know. I think he has Substance as well. It's whoops, ERYNN. All right, well, Richard. Okay, cool. Dude, I really appreciate you coming and hanging out. I hope it was helpful. I can't wait to see. I hope you post some stuff you make. So, and sorry, I'm always looking away from the camera, but that's where I've got the chat. So, and honestly, thank you again for the personal thing. I really appreciate it. It means a lot. I hope you have a great rest of your night. I'm going to go take a break. That's awesome. That's awesome. I can't wait to see it. I'll see you later.